So we've already touched on this, 200 product updates, one whole new loop marketing playbook. It has been a pretty overwhelming conference. And even from last year, I felt pretty overwhelmed. And I feel like I've only just caught up from the actions from last year. I feel like I now have another year ahead of me of just doing nothing but implement new tools, new processes. How do businesses even start with all this new stuff?
Yeah, it's a really big challenge. It's overwhelming, in fact.
It is.
I think that we live in an age where there's so much information, there's so much new stuff, and we're in California, the home of a lot of that. Where do you start? So I think that it's got to be right for the business, it's got to be right for what you're trying to do. And actually, I'd say it's got to be a framework that I use is it going to generate revenue, and how quickly is it going to generate revenue?
So that's how you prioritize. So you take away all these actions.
Yeah.
These are the key things that I want to take away. But it's all definitive for you as revenue.
Well, the way I see it as a matrix, I see it as what is the revenue potential and what's the speed to revenue. And if you think of it as a grid like that.
Yep.
So for me, when I look at my grid, I can say things like the marketing studio, so the ability to build campaigns, that is not obviously going to generate revenue.
No.
It's going to allow us to do things quicker and more joined up, which in the long term might generate revenue. So I'll have that in one area. If I look at the data hub and the stuff around segmentation and insight around our customer, that has huge potential to unlock sales opportunities.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's a big growth one, and relatively easy to deploy. When I look at the prospecting agent, assuming you've got all your data in place, that to me is a very quick thing to deploy.
Yep.
So there's no code. You go in there, you put your custom instructions in, you enroll people into it, you have your guardrails and things like that, and then within a day you are engaging with people.
Totally.
Based on their lead score, based on their past interaction with you, and you're doing it in a personalised way. And that's the sort of thing that's going to get leads.
Absolutely. And I guess there's a question here as to, there is almost a clean of house activity with some of this stuff. So you've touched on Data Hub. If your data's not in a good way, do you foresee that implementing all these agents may almost be a wasted effort if you haven't got a clean of house activity? Hands up, there are people that will be at this conference who have a ton of data in their HubSpot that will be unstructured, structured. Some of it maybe not even relevant. How do you think businesses should be approaching that sort of clean of house activity, and should they be doing that before they start rolling out all this other great stuff?
I think so, absolutely, and it's very true of our customers that we bring off Salesforce and Dynamics,
No need to apologise.
onto HubSpot, and there's a big part of the project which is sorting out the data.
Yep.
Because there's no point in shifting one mess into HubSpot. So I think that's really important. But there is another agent that's really good. It's the data agent. So the data agent is a real-time, always-on, 24/7 agent that's going around trying to keep things clean.
Nice.
So I think once you've got the structure and you've got like the methodology about how you're going to keep your data clean, you've got enrichment through Breeze Intelligence and other tools. You've got the smart CRM bringing the unstructured data in, and then if you have your data agent going along 24/7, 365, it's going to do a lot of that heavy lifting, giving you the confidence to say, yeah, we can run these segments because it's going to be clean.
And these agents, I think, are going to be so fundamental to businesses scaling up their levels of operations, but without relative sort of like increase in effort or headcount. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. I've come into the view that it seems a long way before we have AGI, so like genuinely human level intelligence, sentient intelligence. I mean, if that'll ever happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm no longer worried about that. I'm also no longer worried about the idea that it's going to just take all jobs.
No.
I just don't think it will.
Agreed.
And we are getting more conversations with clients at C-suite level where they're saying, "Can you show me how AI can help me scale without adding more headcount on?" Right, and what's really exciting is HubSpot's being invited into that conversation. And we were talking like business-wide, right? And of course it can, because you can do more with less. You can do things more intelligently. You can do things at night, with the agents working all the time. And it's an incredible platform because it has the data at the heart of it, your customer data, your prospect data. And then with Data Hub bringing, what I want to say about Data Hub was that it's so exciting because it allows you to bring data in without necessarily integrating into other systems.
Yep.
So you can bring things through Snowflake, through Google Docs and other tools that aren't a full-blown integration, but you can bring that information in quickly.
Absolutely. So from my standpoint, for me, I'm going to go away, I'll be cleaning house, I'll be looking at implementing agents. Is there anything else that businesses should be either aware of or factoring into this next 12 months? Because I'm already like dreading and excited about inbound for next year, but I know there's going to be even more to take on.
I think that's it. I've talked there about the framework for prioritizing new features and updates. I think people should probably have their own framework around testing and learning. So, it's unrealistic to try and get everything live in this year or early next year. So is there a methodology around piloting, testing, and then deciding whether we drop something because it just doesn't really do what we want it to do or has enough value? Drop it, leave it, just park it, don't waste your time. And then the things that clearly generate revenue and do some of the key KPI stuff, scale it.
Totally.
So prospecting agent, right, we've got a couple of scenarios for prospecting agent. Let's now expand that across the whole business, across all of our verticals, across all of our business units, and let's go to town on that. And that one thing there may be sort of 10x more impactful than trying to do another 100 updates just for the sake of it.
And I guess when I personally look at agents, the way that I look at it is the vast majority of these agents will get you 80% of the way there, but you are the final 20 as the check off the operation, right? So we've talked about not reducing headcount, but not increasing it. But I guess there's that level of, with the introduction of these agents, businesses are going to be able to empower their employees to do more efficiently, and if anything, either to a level of more personalization too. But I just want to get your thought on that whole, agents are going to get you there 80% of the way, but you always have to do the finishing 20. Do you ever foresee that being all the way?
I mean, I think so. I think that's a safe way of doing it. And if you take, let's say that was being done by people before, the 80%, that's going to take a lot of work off people to allow them to communicate to their teams and have more ideas and to talk to customers. Like the classic thing of, when was the last time you did a conversation or did some research with actual customers about what they want?
Great question.
Yeah. But I think the reality is that 80% isn't being done by people at the moment because it's just too complicated, it's too difficult.
So time resourced. They don't have it.
So I think it's really exciting. We're going to have this, and in the various talks they've talked about there's you and your AI team. So it's very much the human and this team of agents that are working for you, doing what you need them to do. And I know, Bill Gates talked about this years ago, this idea we'll all have our own kind of agent doing stuff that we want. And I think it's starting to get closer.
Oh, I mean, like Microsoft are putting out messaging right now around, okay, now is the time for you to empower employees with agents. The next phase is around building out more agents that almost like report to humans as such. They are there to help enable, they're there to be part of the team. And then you then have essentially the third stage, which is full-on agents that are there to be actually complete day-to-day workflow activity and proactive elements to it. So although Bill Gates talked about this way long ago, he almost foreseen this way back, right? And now you've got Satya at Microsoft saying, right, we're now on this journey, it's coming soon. How are Boom approaching it? You've got agents rolled out yet?
Yeah, we've got some agents that we've been trialing in particularly in the sales process, right? Okay. So around helping us to provide, taking, if you can imagine a sales process, some of our customers, some of the people listening, maybe they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 meetings, calls, whatever. Yeah. There's so much things that were said. So by using AI transcription services, we can bring that together, we can summarize that, but then making sure we create proposals that are, really talking to the most important things that were raised by the customer is crucial. So using agents to do that. The other thing that's really important in the sales process is obviously the pricing. So we were looking at that, and Smart CPQ from HubSpot, by the way.
Okay, go on.
Brilliant. Smart CPQ is a slightly under talked about thing here, but it's the ability to create really detailed pricing on the fly with AI. Okay. Right, so those customers that are like in manufacturing and they have lots of different SKUs, they do product bundles, they have different tiers of pricing, they have account-based pricing. HubSpot's really struggled to deal with that complexity. Now we have Smart CPQ, which basically takes all the conversations and takes the most likely product items and the history of that client and puts it into a quote with a covering letter, all this sort of stuff. So these sorts of agents, these sorts of tools in the sales process mean that we are faster to give the customer the pricing, the timeline, all this sort of stuff.
Totally.
And that's an area that we're finding is incredibly powerful.
Okay, and on a final pointer to wrap up, are we really intrigued to understand how Boom are measuring success or measuring the impact of these agents? So you've touched on the fact that you're using it in your sales process. How much time has that saved you? How much more have you been able to churn out as a result of that? But also, what do you think are defining measures? Because again, as a business owner, how is it that you kind of would measure the impact of these, other than the revenue element?
Oh,
come on, anything.
I was going to say revenue. It's really difficult because, like I say, we're actually, to some extent, we're doing things that we weren't doing before.
Okay, right.
But I know from, if I go back to sales function, the ability to produce proposals quicker and less effort of crawling through, video meeting notes and stuff. That means what we're seeing is our reps are hitting their quotas more often and exceeding their quotas.
Wow.
Because they're able to, and the sale velocity has decreased because that whole sales process has been shortened.
That's insane.
Now, when you start going, okay, the sales process velocity and the time has been reduced, the accuracy of the stuff's improved, we're closing more deals and we're closing them faster. And
I
that
guess
means the sales guys are putting more business through.
Love that.
Basically.
That's insane. That is incredible. I guess when you talk about some of the more detail, I presume it's things like the close date, the amount, the proposal scope. Is that sort of elements you're touching on?
Yeah. All that complexity of because obviously we're dealing with more and more complex like integrations, migrations, and so on. And there's so many people, so many voices in the process, so many stakeholders, and making sure we capture all those things is really crucial. And it can just be, I think the other thing that the sales team have said and our clients have said as well is it's giving them more headspace.
Yeah.
So I'd like to end on that really, because I think it gives people more headspace, it gives them more freedom.
Totally.
It gives them more time to connect with people in their team and their customers, and it gives them more time to manage relationships and dare I say it, be human.
I love that. Adam, what a fantastic note to close on. Thank you very much for the time. It's a really exciting 12 months ahead and obviously just can't wait to embrace it.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.